What's up, my comic comrades, and Happy New Year. 2024 is officially in the books, and we hope you all had a great holiday season. Also, can we all agree to make 2025 the year where we finally chill the hell out? That's a solid New Year's resolution for the world, right? Well, unless AI turns on us and goes full Terminator, or an intergalactic war breaks out. But other than that, let's make 2025 just a chill guy. But no matter what happens, we're excited to spend another year hanging out with all of you. And to kick off the year, we're going to run down the most powerful Beyond Omega Level Mutants in the Marvel Universe. We all know that mutants are going to play a big role in the Marvel Universe this year, and increasingly over the next few years as they become central figures in the MCU. So we're going to lean into that with a number of episodes that highlight important aspects of the mutant corner of the Marvel Universe, starting with its most powerful and dangerous figures. Having said that, we're only going to cover a handful in this episode, but we will cover more in a future episode. Anyway, a lot of comic fans think Omega Level Mutants are the peak of mutant power, and while that's generally the case, there are a handful of exceptions out there, which are the mutants that would be considered beyond Omega Level. Now, to put that into perspective of how crazy that actually is, we first have to understand what an Omega Level Mutant is. Marvel officially tells us an Omega Level Mutant is a mutant whose dominant power is deemed to register or reach an undefinable upper limit of that power's specific classification. If that's a little confusing, do not worry, Marvel gives us an example, saying Magneto and Forge are the most powerful mutants of their types on planet Earth, magnetism and technopathy respectively. But what makes Magneto and not Forge an Omega Level Mutant is that the upper limit of Forge's measurable powers could hypothetically be surpassed, and in fact has by multiple humans on the planet, while the upper limit of Magneto's power cannot be surpassed in any measurable fashion. To explain that even further, they make levels of classifications for a single mutant power. So while a mutant may have multiple different powers, only one of those abilities is normally Omega Level. Another example of this would be that Jean Grey is a telekinetic and telepath, but she's only an Omega Level telepath, not an Omega Level telekinetic. So again, Omega Level mutants have an ability that cannot be surpassed in any measurable way. So if there was a mutant where their Omega Level ability was pyrokinesis, that means there is no one on the planet that can surpass them in their ability to manipulate fire. They are the top of the food chain with that ability. So with that understanding, anyone considered a beyond Omega Level mutant is essentially one of the most powerful characters in all of comics, as their abilities can go beyond what is already considered unmeasurable. I look at it like this. You know when you're a kid arguing with your sibling or your friend and you'd say, I win times infinity, and they say, no, I win infinity times infinity. Well, Beyond Omega Level is the infinity times infinity. It's just like nonsensical, crazy, unlimited power pretty much. Anyway, with that knowledge now in your brain and the understanding of what exactly we're dealing with here, let's talk about some Beyond Omega Level mutants. Now, we're gonna start things off with a banger and a character who a lot of comic fans consider the most powerful superhero in Marvel Comics, and that of course is Powerhouse, aka Franklin Richards. Powerhouse is a confirmed Omega Level mutant, but is also a confirmed Beyond Omega Level mutant. You see, his Omega power is universal reality manipulation and was said to be a Beyond Omega Level mutant in Fantastic Four 604 by the Mad Celestials. They straight up say when they stare at a future older version of Franklin Richards who's with his sister Valeria, human, mutant, anomaly, Beyond Omega classification, reality distortion, universal shaper, galactic constant danger, as he then proceeds to blink them out of existence with a single thought as his eyes glow blue. But let's back up. You see, in issue 603 of Fantastic Four, these Mad Celestials from an alternate timeline show up to the Marvel Universe looking to conquer it. Galactus is able to take out one of the four of them with his power cosmic, but it just pisses off the three remaining Celestials, so they combine, making one massive, extremely powerful Celestial, which says a lot because they're gods all on their own. At this point, with a wave of this merged Celestial's hand, it obliterates Galactus, sending him crashing down back to Earth, dead as a doornail. Now, at this point, Sue can only play defense with her force fields, trying to stay alive. But just as the issue ends, the future versions of her son and daughter, Franklin and Valeria, show up. This brings us back to Fantastic Four 604, where the three Celestials are like crap, mutant anomaly, Beyond Omega Level classification, at which point he teleports them to the surface of the local gas giant, but says it'll only confuse them momentarily before they come back. But this is Franklin Richards, Powerhouse, strongest hero in the Marvel Universe, so we ain't scared when they return. In fact, you know what he does when they return? He takes some of his own power out of his chest in an orb form, then throws it at Galactus's corpse saying, "Rise to me, my Galactus," as he not only brings Galactus back to life, but makes homeboy his herald, at which point him and Galactus dog walk the Mad Celestials. I'm not sure you guys are comprehending how insane that is. Celestials have godlike powers beyond imagination, responsible for creating the Marvel Universe, and called Franklin Richards a Beyond Omega Level mutant. And then Franklin decides to demonstrate how far beyond Omega Level he was by resurrecting Galactus, making him his herald, and defeating the Celestials. It's utterly insane. I mean, who says "Rise to me, my Galactus," and commands him? The devourer of worlds. Franklin does. That's who. Hell, Galactus himself said in the History of the Marvel Universe issue 3 that Franklin Richards is the most powerful mutant ever born. Coming from Galactus, that's insane praise. Next, we have the forgotten third Summers brother, Gabriel Summers, aka Vulcan. He became a slave by the Shi'ar, who raised him to become a tyrannical ruler. His Omega power is energy manipulation. There is no form of energy he cannot control, master, and manipulate. I mean, we're talking about a dude who can manipulate and remove the electrical energy in your brain to make you brain dead or just completely control you. Yeah, having the Omega power of energy manipulation makes him one of the most threatening and destructive characters in comics. Now, he's currently just an Omega level mutant, and I love how I say just an Omega level, like that's not impressive. But my point is, during the X-Men Deadly Genesis series, he was very much beyond Omega level. At the beginning of the series, Cyclops and his daughter Rachel Gray were held prisoner by Vulcan, but once they break free, in Deadly Genesis issue 4, Rachel says he doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know how to fully control his powers yet. Scott asks, "How do you know this?" She replies, "I'm still getting pieces from when I was in his head. He didn't used to be this powerful. Something happened to bump him up way past Omega level, but he's not ready yet." So she flat out says something happened to bump him up way past Omega level. You see, at the time, he was powered up by a burst of mutant energy, which pushed him to beyond Omega level. He then tells Xavier in issue 6, who he's manhandling by the way, "I'm more powerful than all of your X-Men put together now." The point is, Vulcan is a serious threat and once considered way past beyond Omega level. Next up, we have X-Man aka Nate Gray. He's an alternate version of Cable created by Mr. Sinister in the Age of Apocalypse timeline. Now, how do we know Nate is beyond Omega level? Well, because Legion, an Omega level mutant and son of Professor X, said so himself in Uncanny X-Men issue 4. But before we get to that, he has the ability of matter control, psionic power, and mastery of the astral plane. He's basically mutant Jesus. I mean, we see him straight up have Apocalypse restrained on an X, and there's not a damn thing Apocalypse can do about it. But going back to the mutant Jesus thing, he straight up comes down looking like Jesus, addressing the world saying, "People of Earth, I am X-Man, and I bring you a message of peace and love, but also the truth we have so long ignored at our peril. Things have never been worse. We are a world divided, a people at war with both ourselves and with nature. Earth is doomed unless drastic measures are taken. I am those drastic measures. I am the second coming you have waited for, prayed for." See? Mutant Jesus. He goes on to say, "I will reshape this world. My horsemen of salvation will reverse the whole of Earth, remaking it in my image. There will be painful days ahead, but our rewards great. Today is the first day. By the 7th, all will be done. A new world order. Peace in our time." So X-Man is so powerful, he's literally coming down like the Son of God, addressing the world saying he's going to reshape it as a god, which he most certainly can given his immense godlike power. Later in the issue, Legion makes it a point to tell the X-Men, "You don't understand how powerful this dude is." When Armor asked him what the hell is going on with the X-Man guy who wants to remake the world, he replies, "Oh god, where to start?" So yes, I created this bad Age of Apocalypse world. We don't really need to get into that. It was a mistake. We all make them. But yes, X-Man, he came from there, and he's, well, he's something very powerful. Omega level. More than. Is there something above that yet? If there is, he's it. So one more time, Legion, who all of us X-Men fans know is one of the most powerful characters in all of comics, is basically being like, you don't understand how powerful this guy is? He's more than Omega level. If there's even something above that, he's it. Telling us, yes, X-Man is indeed a beyond Omega level mutant, because if there's anyone who knows about that kind of crazy power, it's Legion. The dude who can alter reality on a whim, you know, like he just said, the guy responsible for the Age of Apocalypse timeline. But next up, we have James Jaspers, or Mad Jim Jaspers. He's a mutant with the ability of reality warping. Now, when you're talking about beyond Omega level mutants, reality warping is almost something they all can do. It's like, yeah, no duh, they're beyond Omega level. But Jasper is probably the best reality warper. When it comes to Jasper, however, there's two versions of him that have to be talked about. First, you have the Earth 238 version. This version of the character had such crazy reality bending abilities that he could warp reality in such a way it would be unrecognizable and almost impossible for anyone else to undo his reality warping manipulations. In fact, he warped Earth 238 so drastically it had to be completely obliterated and destroyed in order to prevent its corruption from spreading throughout the universe. Now, with that said, it's crazy to think that James Jaspers from the main 616 universe is even stronger and even more powerful than his Earth 238 counterpart. Case in point, in the Mighty Marvel issue 9, Merlin stated to Captain Britain telepathically that Jaspers was an omniversal threat. Not a universal threat, an omniversal threat, as in a threat to all the universes. He flat out tells Captain Britain this version of Jaspers is too powerful, too dangerous, and if he is not defeated, then the Omniverse shall fall into chaos and a new and hostile god shall play dice with matter. And again, this is coming from Merlin, arguably the most famous sorcerer in all of fiction. It's just kind of crazy to wrap your mind around that. Jaspers is so powerful, he's an omniversal threat, a threat to every single universe, so clearly he's way beyond Omega level. Moving along, we have Onslaught. Onslaught is effectively the combination of Professor X and Magneto, and we break it all down for you in this episode right here on how the two effectively merge, creating an entirely new being named Onslaught. Anyway, Onslaught was never referred to or deemed a Beyond Omega Level Mutant, but he surely is considering how powerful he is. You see, in Onslaught Marvel Universe, the only way Earth's heroes were able to stop him was by sacrificing themselves to destroy him. I'm talking about basically the whole shebang of heroes up against Onslaught, like the Avengers, Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom, the X-Men, everybody. In fact, his defeat cost the heroes their entire universe. The only reason they were even saved was because of Franklin Richards transferring them to a pocket universe, giving us the Heroes Reborn Marvel reboot. That's right, Onslaught was such a threat, he was the catalyst for rebooting Marvel's entire continuity. Dude effectively took out the entire Marvel universe, and it took said universe to stop him. I would say that is certainly Beyond Omega level. Next up, we have the Marquise of Death. He is yet another mutant who has reality warping powers, meaning, of course, you don't want to mess with this guy. I mean, he easily defeated a Watcher, as we see in Fantastic Four issue 566. But crazier than that, in the Fantastic Four 569, he basically alluded to the fact that characters like Eternity, Galactus, and Ego the Living Planet, gods of the Marvel Universe, are nothing but insects to him. We literally see him fighting through the multiverse, as all these extremely powerful beings in the Marvel Universe are nothing to him. So though he was never referred to as a Beyond Omega Level Mutant, he most certainly is. Anyone who refers to Galactus and Eternity itself as an insect is someone that's one of the biggest threats in comics. Anyway, rounding out this list, lastly we have Santa Claus. Now this one is more of a bonus because it's just kind of hysterical, but in 1991's Marvel Holiday Special, it was stated by Cerebro that Santa Claus is the most powerful mutant ever registered. Basically, the issue kicks off with the X-Men decorating their Christmas tree, but then Cerebro starts going off, so of course the X-Men go to see what the heck's going on. When they get in there, Banshee says, according to the mutant detecting Cerebro, it's tracked the most powerful mutant ever registered. Obviously, the X-Men are like, well, we need to go check that out, and when they do, they come into confrontation with the Blob, Toad, and other mutants, before ultimately finding out that the mutant Cerebro detected is actually Santa Claus. So, a few things here. First off, this confirms in Marvel continuity that Santa is a mutant. Second, he's apparently the most powerful mutant ever detected up until that point. And third, this explains how Santa is able to deliver presents to every little boy and girl all around the world in one night, because he's a mutant with reality-bending abilities. So since the comic says he's the most powerful mutant ever detected, I would imagine that makes him Beyond Omega level, at least at the time during this continuity. Obviously, this is more of a fun ad, but it still certainly means Santa is one of the most powerful mutants in Marvel, and at that time, the most powerful. It's also just kind of crazy to think that Santa is a mutant, but it makes all the sense in the world when you think about it. But there you have it, friends, several of the most powerful Beyond Omega level mutants in the Marvel Universe. There are several others we'll be covering at some point, but for now, let us know which Beyond Omega level mutant tops your list in the comments below. Other than that, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.